so that you can hear me. I can't hear you yet. All right. All right. So let me get the light back to my face. All right. So I'm testing my mic here to be sure that my mic is working. And from my own side, everything seems to be working fine. So I can hear and I can receive and I can hear. Where are you? Where are you? I'm the only person who's here, so I can see you if you can see me. Why am I appearing very distant? I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know why. Doing today. All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever part of the world you're watching this from, wherever part of the entire universe that you are watching this from. Welcome to the Four Secrets to becoming trauma-free. Yesterday was part one. So to say, yesterday was the first session, and I happen to be the person who facilitated yesterday's session. Today, we are taking the conversation a notch higher. And today, we are live here, and we're going to be having this conversation, particularly my friend and partner, Tolusedo Francis, so that it doesn't crucify me for modern Masalin's today. Tolusedo Francis is going to be handling today's session, and is going to be doing great justice to that. If you can hear me and if you can see me, please say yes in the comments right now. All right, so leave a comment right now. Let me know that you can see me. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you are live all here with me. So I'm checking here to confirm that I can see people. All right. Toyin can hear me. Thank you very much. And from my own side here, it's showing as if the session has not started yet. So I'm going to try and do something here and try to see if there's a little change here. Okay, so from my own side here, I can now see myself, the stream. All right, so from my own side here. All right. So again, welcome everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's session. And today we'll be looking specifically at some of the things you can do to advance your healing, your recovery from trauma. Remember that the goal of this session is to help you become free from trauma, for you to live free from trauma. And so in order to do that, as I wrote in my notes today, that all knowledge is an experiment. That's something I wrote in notes in my diary for today, that all knowledge is an experiment. So when you acquire knowledge, you are not just doing some mental masturbation, so that you can literally go do something with whatever it is you have acquired. So yesterday we covered quite a couple of things. I walked you through the basics of how trauma happens and how your brain responds to trauma, the emotions you feel when trauma happens. Of course, if you remember, I talked about guilt, shame, and the regrets. And more importantly, I also shared with you that you can reframe trauma. You can transform trauma into a superpower that now powers 3 areas of your life. I mentioned that your renewed meaning and purpose. I mentioned I'm even trying to remember some of the things that I mentioned yesterday, but if you have not covered that so far, it is not bad right now to continue with this session. So please, with this session today, we are going to be getting into some details. And today's facilitator is my friend and partner, Tolusedo Francis. If you are live here with me right now, please join me to welcome my dear Tolusedo Francis for this particular session. Hi, Tolusedo.
Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for having me here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very fine. I'm doing very fine myself. And it's been an interesting day so far.
Great, great. So, yesterday was an amazing time together. We learned a whole lot and you set us on the journey of breaking free from trauma. And today we'll continue that same discussion, looking at something very interesting. So, I'm just going to switch in straight into that. But before then, I want you to copy the link to this video and share with your friends. Invite everyone to join us here right now. If you think that there are people that you love and you really want them to be part of this webinar today, because today we are looking at building resilience. You cannot talk about trauma without building resilience. Otherwise, everything is going to hit you goals. And before you know what is happening, you lose control and you lose balance. Trust me. And so you don't want people to keep crying to you for help. You want to give people free meal. It's always said that rather than you giving people food to eat, why not teach them how to eat? You don't want someone begging you for money every time. So the best way to help that person is to teach that person how to farm or how to produce the same food. So share this video, share it with your friends and as many people that you care about, and let them join us here. So Dio, right now, I'm going to send you back. I'm going to mute you, and I'm going to go right in to share with our viewers, our attendees today, what exactly it is that we have in stock for them. Don't go anywhere,
All
just
right.
hang there. I'll be back to you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get in straight to the business of today. Now, today we're going to be looking at building resilience and well-being. A very simple topic that I'm very delighted to share with you. Now, one of the things that you may find surprising when it comes to resilience is the fact that before I begin, let me share this food for thought with you. And it says, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. I'll take that again. I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. Now, this exactly is what trauma wants to do to you. Trauma wants to reduce you to nobody. Trauma wants to reduce you to someone that should not be reckoned with. Trauma wants to make you feel that the world has come to an end, that your world has come crashing, and you need to set yourself free from that. When Maya Angelou wrote this, I guess she wrote it from a place of experience where things have happened to her, and she felt, you know what, I refuse to be reduced by what I have experienced. I refuse to be reduced by what has happened to me. I am going to change my story. So let us begin by defining resilience. What exactly is resilience? Resilience is the ability to recover from tough situations and circumstances. I'll read that again. It is the ability to recover from tough situations or circumstances. Another definition for resilience says that it is the ability, your ability, to withstand adversity and bounce back and grow despite life's downturns. 2020 has been an interesting year. Irrespective of the country where you're watching from, 2020 has taught us a whole lot. COVID-19 came with our own, and for those in other parts of Nigeria, in Nigeria and other parts of the world, several crises. Nigeria, for example, the protests against police brutality, those in and a whole lot of things. And so, imagine if you have not built resilience, you would have been hit on every side, and only you can tell where you're going to be right now. So, it is that ability to recover from tough situations. How do you want to recover from the things that have hit you in 2020? How do you want to recover from the tough situations or circumstances that have hit you in 2020? If you're on this webinar right now, can you just write in the comment section? Let me see. Tell me, how do you intend to recover from the tough situations and circumstances of 2020? Do you think you have the ability to withstand the adversity and bounce back and grow despite what has happened to you? If yes, put it in the comment section. Tell me what you plan to do, and tell me if you have that skill or that know-how for you to bounce back from what has happened to you in 2020. Come on, give me that response now. Tell me exactly, how do you intend to bounce back? Because it's very, very important. Let me know. I want to see something. I want to know if you have the idea or the plan already. I know some of you might still be thinking about it. You are trying to put the thoughts together to know if exactly you have an answer to it. But we'll continue. Now, resilience, again, like I said, is the ability to bounce back. Now, being resilient does not mean that people don't experience stress, emotional upheaval, and suffering. Resilience doesn't mean that you will not experience bad things. It doesn't mean that you will not experience emotional upheaval. Emotional upheaval means that moment when you are on a roller coaster of emotions. you're agitated, or perhaps panic attacks and all that. Resilience does not save you from that. I've also seen some people who equate resilience with mental toughness. Not really, right? But we see demonstrated resilience includes walking through emotional pain and suffering. You walk through emotional pain and suffering. Now, why does resilience matter? You may begin to ask, why exactly do I need resilience? I'm going to share with you briefly. Now, resilience is important because it gives people the strength needed to process and overcome hardship. Look, trust me, if you do not have resilience, it will be very difficult for you to overcome hardship. Very difficult for you to overcome hardship. Resilience is going to give you the strength to actually process the hardship that you're experiencing and how to overcome it. Those lacking resilience get easily overwhelmed and may turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. That's when you find some people who will say things like, who go drinking. Yeah, let me give that example. Some people go drinking, some go smoking because they are trying to overcome that toughness, that hardship, that tough situation. They don't have resilience, so they are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed and they have not gotten the right solution in order to cope with that particular period of their lives. And so they resort to doing things that are not healthy for them. Resilient people tap into their strength and support systems to overcome changes and work through problems. And so if you find people who are resilient, they sit down and they think, what exactly is it that I'm going through? What exactly is it that I'm experiencing? How can I overcome this? And so they don't just give in. They don't just give up to say, man, my life is a mess. I am finished. Things have happened to me. No. They sit down, they say to themselves, you know what? How do I handle this? Two factors that drive our resilience: internal factors and external factors. Internal factors and external factors. These two factors drive our resilience. Under the internal factor, we have self-control and self-confidence. Under self-control, you have flexibility, ability to cope, adaptability, acceptance, and willpower. These are internal factors. We need these internal factors if we are going to do what? If we are going to build resilience. We need these two internal factors. Next is self-confidence. Under self-confidence, you have strength, self-reliance, determination, perseverance, courage, optimism, and humor. Yesterday, Dio, was talking about fear, talked about building courage, being able to face what exactly it is that you're afraid of. That fear that you think exists may not even exist in the first place. Now, if you look at these internal factors, you notice that there are things that you yourself, as a person, have to initiate. These are things that you, as a person, have to kickstart. These are things that come from within. These are things that you must initiate and work on and begin to process. But when you look at the external factors, there are things without, there are things outside you. So you have personal relationships, your relationship with your friends, with your loved ones, with your colleagues and other people. You have purpose and meaning, things that motivate and inspire you, things that drive you, things that matter to you. You cannot afford to just push them under the carpet. So you look at these internal and external factors. These are the things that drive us. These are the things that push us. These are the things that we need to actually drive resilience. Let's look at some examples of resilience here. If you're still with me, type hi in the comment section. Let's have some examples of resilience. You have emotional resilience, you have physical resilience, and you have community resilience. Now we'll talk about emotional resilience. This is when a person can tap into real optimism even when they're experiencing crisis. Now, emotional resilience has to do with your emotions, as the name suggests, your emotions. They are not things that you can get externally. It has to do with your emotions, right? Now, physical resilience refers to the body's ability to adapt to changes and recover quickly. For example, when you have a wound on your skin will be time to be resilient if healing happens quickly. Some people's skin, they cannot heal quickly. Maybe they have a burn or a scalp or a cut. You begin to hope that it will heal quickly. But for some people, the skin has developed a form of resilience that it's able to heal quickly. Or even your bones, you have broken bones and it heals quickly. Then you have community resilience. This refers to the ability of groups of people to respond to and recover from adverse situations, such as natural disasters, acts of violence, or economic hardship. Now, the interesting thing about all this is that whether we like it or not, your resilience, whether physical or emotional, all depends on you. You really have to be the one to drive it. You have to be the one to initiate it. You must be intentional in terms of driving that change and that resilience. And so it's very key that you pay attention to all of these things if you really want to develop your resilience. I hope we're together. So you cannot just sit down and say, you know what, I want to build resilience. You have to work on it. You have to develop it. There are 7 C's to resilience. These C's are the things that will help you build your inner strength, irrespective of age. But you see, before I come to that, because this is C's I want to share with you, you're going to get full value of these from this our 2 weeks online bootcamp. And so this is just to let you know that whatever it is that you're getting here, if you really want to eat the full meat, both yesterday and today's webinar sessions, then you need to begin to think about how to get yourself on this seat. I just told to inform you so that you won't say I did not tell you. Now let's go back. Let's get the 3 C's of resilience. These C's help us to build our inner strength, irrespective of age. What are they? Learning competence. You must learn competence. You cannot afford not to learn competence. Next is confidence. If you're going to build resilience, build inner strength, you must be confident. Connection. We are human beings. We have emotions running in our system. We are not created to live or exist in isolation. We are created, we are made to interact with other people. And so we have blood flowing in our veins, and so we are emotional. And that is why people want to belong to groups. People want to belong to a circle of other people. Character. Your character goes a long way in helping you to build your inner strength. You see, your inner strength is what you need to even make that step to say, you know what, things have to change. You know what, I need to build myself. You need that inner strength. If that inner strength is lacking, you cannot do anything. Look, no matter how much books you read, how many books you read, no matter the number of people who motivate you, if you do not develop this inner strength, there is nothing you can do. You need to learn to cope, learn to control, and learn to contribute. These are the 7 C's that you need to build your inner strength, irrespective of age. I told you about this. In this bootcamp, we're going to go into details of these 7 C's. Trust me, you don't want to miss these. My friend is going to talk about this much later, but I'm just going to go on. I still have a few things to share with you. Now, you may begin to ask yourself, how can I make myself more resilient? Perhaps in your mind, right, look, you know what, I am resilient. I know some of you right now think that being resilient means being tough. I'm not going to give you that expert right now. But you see, there are factors that can help you process trauma and become more adaptable. And these factors include social support, realistic planning, self-esteem, coping skills, communication skills, and emotional regulation. So, can you tell me, as an individual, with what you have heard so far, how do you think you can become more resilient? I want to read your comments. How do you think you can become more resilient? Tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me. Drop it there, drop it there. How do you think you can become more resilient? Perhaps you have been trying or you have tried so far, but I want to know, what exactly do you think you can do for you to become resilient? Put it in the comment section. I want to read. Okay, the previous question, someone says, I want to rise above. Another person said the plan is still in the making. Okay, I think that was the question I asked about what are you doing. Yes, so you know that you need to be resilient. So tell me, what are you doing to be resilient? Now, I have good news for you. And the good news is that resilience is not a fixed trait. You are not born with resilience. You're not born with resilience. You can build or bolster your resilience by changing your thoughts, right? And behaviors and finding your inner strength. You can build on resilience by changing your thoughts and behaviors. Your behaviors and your thoughts a whole lot of times work hand in hand. Now, let me share something with you quickly. Now, you see, when we talk about your thoughts and your behaviors, they work hand in hand, and this is why. Your thoughts actually drive your behavior. Now, the things that you do, okay, someone says following a schedule, great, thank you, all right, fashion. Now, the thing is, for every action that you carry out, you thought about it before you did it. You did not just wake up to participate in this webinar. You thought about it, let me take part in this webinar, right? You saw the link, you clicked on it, right? Said, I want to be here. Let me go listen to what they have to say. You don't just wake up in the morning, just put on any clothes and dash out. No. You think about how you want to appear. You think about what meetings do I have today, and then you pick the clothes. And so you cannot carry out any behavior or act in any way without necessarily thinking about it. And so your thoughts drive your behavior. Your thoughts drive your feelings, and then your feelings, your behavior. And so it's a journey. If you think good of yourself, if you think great of yourself, you're going to feel fantastic. And because you feel fantastic, you're going to behave in a fantastic manner. I want to believe that some of you have found some of your colleagues and are like, this one I am so happy today. What exactly is happening? Tell me, give me gist. That person is behaving in that way that you have seen because that person feels in a certain way. And so your thoughts are not abstract. Your feelings are not abstract. You cannot be happy, yet look sad. You cannot be happy, yet look sad or behave in a sad way. They go hand in hand. So you need to realize that you have no choice than to pay attention to your thoughts, right? Because your thoughts actually drive your feelings, and your feelings drive your behavior. In when I'm working with my client, there's what I call problem thinking, problem feeling, and problem behavior. Now, this stems from the fact that for every behavior that I see a person put forward, it is based on how the person feels, which is a function of how the person thinks. And so when trauma exists, when events happen, you're traumatized based on a feeling, and that exactly influences your behavior, your reaction, and the things that you do. And so it doesn't just happen. No, it doesn't just happen. It is a function of everything that is happening around you. It goes round and round and round. And so there is nothing like it just happened. No. You might not have paid attention to your thoughts, but you need to understand that the thoughts were there before now, right? But you just weren't paying attention to those thoughts. Let's go back to our slides. Let me show you something. So like I said, resilience isn't a fixed trait. Now, what are strategies for building resilience? Dio, do I still have some time? Okay. So that I don't overshoot our time. Okay, thank you. Let me continue then. Now, what are the strategies for building resilience? I want to share with you time-tested and proven techniques. Now, maintaining and forming relationships. Maintaining and forming relationships. I said this earlier, that you are not an island. I say none of these things are easy, but they are necessary. None of these things are easy, but they are necessary. And so see them from that angle that things are necessary. Okay? Taking control. For you to build resilience, you have to take control. Remember what we talked about? Let me see if I can still take us back to when we talk about internal and external factors for building resilience. And I said everything internal begins with you. Your self-control, your self-confidence. You have to be flexible, you have to be able to cope, you have to be adaptable, you have to be accepting, and you need willpower, right? And then I said self-confidence also talks about your strength, your self-reliance, your determination, resourcefulness, perseverance, courage, optimism, and humor. Now hold these. Now see what I'm talking about here right now. Can you see? Taking control. Nobody will take control for you. You have to take control by yourself. Exercise also helps a lot because exercise builds you up. Exercise allows you to let out all the toxic things within you. As you sweat them out, all right, as you sweat them out, you let go of whatever it is that is internal. Your sweat pores are open. You allow some fresh air in. Positive attitude. You need to keep positive attitude, positive outlook towards life. Now, this next point is something that a whole lot of people find themselves not being able to do. Keep working at it. People find it difficult to keep working at things. Just a little brick or a little wall or a little obstacle that they experience, they give up. You can't afford to give up because you have experienced a break. In fact, let that wall that you have hit be the reason why you will not go back. Let that obstacle that you have hit be the reason why you will not go back. And so as you're moving, as you're walking towards this, and you realize that no, I have hit a wall, ask yourself, okay, so what is behind this wall that I cannot break? So you need to remember that. And of course, relaxation. There is this saying that says, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yes. So Jack may work and work and work, but for Jack to be the best at what he does, he also needs to relax. Now, this is the final point I'm going to share with you, and it talks about skills for building resilience. Skills for building resilience. One, you have to remain calm, consciously aware, living in the moment. Now, you have to be self-aware, consciously. When I say consciously, you have to know that this exactly is where, and you can only do this when you spend time with yourself. So don't rush. Don't be in a hurry to do something when you feel anxious, when everything around you seems like in disarray and you can't even get a hold of yourself. Don't make decisions at that point in time, right? Use your body as feedback. Your mind and your body, they work together. Look, and this is why, and this is the thing with mental illnesses or mental health issues or emotional issues. When internally you are not feeling fine, externally you're going to be affected. So use your body as feedback. What is your mind telling you? What is your body doing? That way you are able to tell what you need to do. Accept what is. That is, embrace change. When things have happened, be optimistic that these will bring great things to you. Then nourish yourself. Nourish yourself. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to hand over to Dio to take it away from here to tell us more about what we stand to gain from this boot camp. If you have whatever you want to say or question or something, you can drop them right now. I'm going to pick a few if we have the time. This webinar is for 1 hour or thereabout. I don't know, but I'll hand over to Dio now to take it away from here. Dio, over to you.
Thank you for that session. It was quite enlightening. And if you have been in this session so far, please say hi in the comments right now. Let's know that you are still live with us. Awesome. So first and first, I want us to say thank you to Tolushe for that session that he has shared, for some of the insights he has provided to us tonight or today, depending on wherever it is you're watching this from. Now, from some of the things that Tolushe shared just now, compared, putting them in contrast with what we what I discussed yesterday, you will notice that there seems to be a lot of blend, there seems to be a lot of merging, a lot of fusion between them. Now, it is going to be at your own advantage. You take chance to be a part of Thrive Beyond Trauma. Now, Thrive Beyond Trauma is a 2 weeks boot camp, 2 weeks online boot camp that we are running. Myself and Tolushe will be the anchors, will be the facilitators. It's more like you are signing up for a therapy session, but rather than doing it just one therapy session, you are doing it in sort of batches, such that you're having maybe multiple batches of therapy sessions per time. And this time around, you have 2 therapists working with you at the same time. Now, when we talk about Thrive Beyond Trauma, what's the idea of Thrive? First thing first, in fact, let me open up my dictionary here, and my dictionary explains thriving as, so my dictionary explains thriving, when we say that something is thriving, it means that it is growing, it is increasing in stature, it is flourishing. When we say something is thriving, it is prospering, it is growing to become profitable. Now, Tolisha has shared with you some ideas on resilience. In fact, he even talked about some C's you need to consider when you are building resilience. How does resilience play out when it comes to trauma? Now, you may have that question at the top of your mind or maybe at the back of your mind. What you need to first of all pay attention to is the fact that anytime trauma happens, and I took time yesterday to explain how trauma happens, that is, traumatization happens when threat or whatever threat it is you are in is greater than your inner and external resources in order to cope with that threat. And Tolisha also mentioned internal and external resources today, and that is giving me a lot of, and for your information, it's not like we prepared these slides together. Yes, I saw some things in a slide, but they are totally it's not like they are jointly done together. Now, if you are joining us in Thrive Beyond Trauma, what you will be doing, what you will be learning is not just theory. We are taking some of the things you are learning here, or some of the things you have learned so far, we are taking them and turning them into things that you can practice. As I mentioned at the beginning of this session, that all knowledge is an experiment. All knowledge is an experiment. Once you learn, you experiment with it. It's like what some people who read the Bible, or maybe many of us who read the Bible, what they refer to as faith, which is knowledge, without work is dead, right? Faith, knowledge, or belief or acceptance of a belief or dogma or principles or certain insights without work action is dead. So all knowledge is an experiment. All knowledge should result in some working. So if you want to join Thrive Beyond Trauma, which I believe right now, Tolisha, please, where are you? Please come on screen. Let's discuss some of the things that you get to experience in Thrive Beyond Trauma, which is a 2 weeks boot camp that we are starting. And so maybe I should even be asking some of the questions here. Thank you, Obaje Sylvester. Thank you, Olubusola, because I remember I mentioning. Thank you, Olubusola. Thank you, Tomisin. Thank you, all right, Passion. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions that you would like you'd like to ask at this point, please put them in the comments so that we can answer them for you. So thank you, Tolisha. Thank you for coming back on screen. So first question here is coming from me, and it's more of, if I join Thrive Beyond Trauma, what do I stand to gain?
So, from what I've shared with us today, this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Sure. Now, I'm going to be taking you through what exactly are the things that you need to do for you to be at that point where you are able to thrive. There's what I call the domains of resilience, right? Let me give you expo. And there's what I call domains of resilience, right? I'm going to walk you through these domains of resilience. You can see 6 of them. Much more than this, but just look at this, 6 of them. We're going to look at them one after the other. Now, the interesting thing about this bootcamp is it's not for everybody. It's not for multitude, because it's just for 2 weeks, just you and us. Take you through domains of resilience, helping you to develop these domains and teach you how to apply them in order to bounce back. Just in case you are not seeing it very well. That I'm going to be taking you through in Thrive Beyond Trauma. Now, let me also let you know that at the end of this particular boot camp, because that would also come with his own, you not only will be able to manage or handle trauma, but you also will be able to build resilience such that even, okay, so let's put it this way. You have there's a difference between preparing so that an accident doesn't happen and then you bouncing back from an accident, right? So resilience is going to teach you preventing and healing. It's going to teach you preventing and healing, prevention and healing. How do I prevent being hurt? How do I prevent myself from being hit by this thing? That'll take you through that process. And then we now look at, okay, I have been hit, things have happened to me. What do I do next? And then we'll take you through that journey of, look, that things have happened to you doesn't mean that that is the end of it at all. It just means that you can bounce up. And so you bounce back, and then you are able to get a hold of yourself. And that is why you need to learn these domains of resilience, because you're able to apply them to yourself and make the best use of them.
All right, thank you very much for that. Now, one of the things that, in case you're trying to wrap it around some of the things Toluche has shared here today, one of the things you need to understand is when trauma happens or after trauma has happened, you need those. Remember that traumatization happens when threat is greater than your resources, right? What you need then is, after trauma has happened, you need to be able to develop resilience so that, of course, part of developing resilience is you empower your internal and external resources so that you are able to handle that. Now, at this point, I'm going to also mention here that Thrive Beyond Trauma takes place practically online. So it's not like you're traveling anywhere to be a part of it. In fact, we are going to be doing this live on Zoom. So for 2 straight weeks, we are, of course, class is not every day of the week, right? So for 2 straight weeks, we are going to be holding your hands, guiding you through towards healing, helping you find closure from certain incidences that may have happened in your life, particularly things that I refer to as scenarios. And when I say scenarios are incidences that took place in your lives that were traumatic or kind of had a lot of emotions attached to them. And so when those things happen, you probably did not have the resources to handle them when they happened. So let's give a little example here. So some of us, we grew up in homes where our parents were harsh, and maybe like myself, there's a scar here on my hand, somewhere around here. Or is it this hand? I think it should be this one. Now I can't raise it up because I don't want it to see anybody right now. But when I raise my hand up and show you, you will see a scar there. Now that scar was created because one day I wanted to go play football. Those days I was the best goalkeeper around my area. So every time I'm at the goal post, people hardly ever score at the post where I am. And this particular day, I had gone to go play football. Our ball entered the compound next to our house because the field was like the 3rd compound away from our house. And then I came into my compound to come and climb the steps we have in our compound so that I can jump into the fence of that compound and then carry the ball and throw it out. Guess what? As I was on the roof, as I was on the wall on the fence that day, about to jump down, I just said, "Dio!" from the back. I just like this. And right on that wall, I just say, yay, Morogoleni, meaning that I don't die today. The reason why was because my dad had warned me severally not to jump into that fence to go do anything. One, my dad had warned me severally not to play football again, because almost every time I go to the field to play football, I always come back with a bruise, an injury. In fact, till today, I don't play football, not because of the fact that okay, before I jump away from that story, after I came down from that fence that day, my father beat me black and blue, and that left a scar on my body here. Now, today, I don't play football, neither do I even like football. I don't even watch football. I'm not even a fan of any club today. Not because of what happened then, but because later I got to understand what my parents were trying to guide me against. But the trauma that incurred from that particular incident, or from a lot of beating related to football, maybe that's the reason why I don't like football. Maybe. But the real reason why they were trying to protect me then, because of course, anytime anything happens like that, if you remember yesterday, I explained to you that your brain has two priorities: safety and efficiency. Safety in the sense that your brain wants to protect you from anything that may happen to you or may happen to you again at another time. Now, after that time, anytime I see ball, I'm not so interested in football. But the other thing is that I did not have the bones for football. So my bones are not as strong to handle the tedious requirement of playing football. Like when people hit their bones. By the time I hit my bone, I usually come back home. It's my parents, particularly my mom, that'll be treating my bone. So usually they want me not to go. I know they and that over time created, beyond the physical scar, it created some form of emotional scar for me, such that anytime I think about football today, I remember that physical scar. I still remember that incident. Now, today I'm able to tell that story in a way that helps other people, in a way that is even, in fact, as I'm telling it, I'm laughing. Perhaps maybe something maybe not as positive may have happened to you, and you've not been able to build sufficient resilience to handle that going forward. Or maybe you've not been able to build the internal and external resources to handle that going forward. Perhaps maybe trauma has created fear for you. Maybe trauma has robbed you of your confidence. Maybe trauma has made you to lose your self-esteem. Of course, there's physical trauma, there's psychological trauma, there's sexual trauma, there is community trauma, which, for example, in case of those who were not here yesterday when we had the first session, community trauma refers to when incidences or something happened within the community, like Boko Haram traumatized Nigeria. But that's an ancient story, right? A recent incident could be the fact that what was going on in Benue State in the last couple of days with what's going on in some parts of Nigeria right now. And more importantly, the one that everybody may be able to remember is the Lekki massacre that happened last few weeks ago. That is an example of community trauma. And such trauma is very, very easy to absorb, especially if you're the type of person who stay a lot on social media. You are taking in your information from social media. You may just be absorbing trauma from other people. In my book, Limitless Courage and Confidence, I talk about something called learning other people's fears, learning how other people misinterpret things, and taking those things as your own rule of thumb, the heuristics that you now work with. Here's the thing: if you join Thrive Beyond Trauma, aside from the fact that you are going to learn, we are going to actually do what we do in therapy sessions for as the few people, because I want to say as many people, and then I got reminded that Thrive Beyond Trauma is not a program for everybody. It's a program for very, very few persons, particularly those who want to go beyond trauma, flourish beyond trauma, prosper beyond trauma, find more success beyond trauma. Now, here's a story I would like to tell you, and I would like for Tricia to join me back on screen right now. And this short story, usually, I tell it in classes, especially in the fear resolve process. And here is what I usually say in the fear resolve process when I'm telling this story. Many people have experienced certain things in their lives. As with the context of what we are working with right now, a lot of people have experienced trauma. If you live in a nation like Nigeria, where we live in, trauma seems to be like a weekly recurrent incident. If trauma does not happen at home, in the
a
family,
romantic relationship with trauma in Nigeria.
as in
Divorce.
in a romantic relationship with trauma, if it doesn't happen in the family, it will happen on the road. It will either happen with policeman. When we talk about policeman, I remember the day that policeman picked me on the road and inside their van, and I landed in magistrate court without doing anything, for just walking on the road. Though I landed in magistrate court, I was calling my friend and lawyer, all right, in order to know what to even answer and what to even tell. They even collected my phone at one point because I was speaking to a lawyer. So if you live in a nation like Nigeria, trauma seems to be like what happens almost every single day, almost every week. You tend to be traumatized. Now, people, even though they are mild trauma and acute trauma, of course, I mentioned that yesterday, there's mini trauma, there's meso. I don't want to go to all those labels right now, but there's mild and there's acute. Now, when trauma happens, to which a lot of us have actually experienced some form of trauma, it may have happened in any way. Now, before the trauma happens, a lot of us, usually we have a pure heart, we have a good heart, we just want to be there, we just want to live our lives. And the moment that trauma happens, we now build a wall around ourselves. We build a wall around ourselves so that this wall can protect us from any of such trauma happening again at another time. Now, when you now build that wall of protection again around yourself, you build it around your heart. A lot of times, most people, and I'm using most metaphorically right now or hyperbolically right now, most people don't get to break that wall of control, that wall of partition that they've created around themselves. This wall, they now do everything in their lives to operate from around the wall without paying attention to what has happened and has been kept within that wall. So you find that a lot of people, trauma took place in their lives, or maybe the trauma is maybe domestic violence. And then the next thing you see is that they become advocates of domestic violence. They have not treated their own issues. So they become advocates and they become people who start preaching up and down that people are going through stuff. People are going through stuff. So you now hear them say things like their mess has become a message. By the way, being a therapist, I've had to handle cases where people's mess became their message was only a fluke because their mess really has never become a message. In fact, they were still living messily inside that message that they were trying to project to other people. Do you get what I'm explaining now? So it may have been like that. Some people, they use social media to distract themselves away from the pain that they are holding within their hearts. Some people use different behaviors. Some people, it may be that they become very addicted to certain behaviors. They become very committed to certain causes. In fact, for some people, they become very, very religious. Church becomes what they use to distract themselves from the pain that they have experienced, that trauma that they have experienced. They now use church to distract themselves from what's going on in their lives. For some people, of course, as with my own story, it was pornography that I was using to distract myself, things that were going on in my life at one point in my journey. I don't want you to continue like that. If you have ever experienced trauma in any form, perhaps today, 2020, with all of its incidences, all the incidents that have gone on, and all the scenarios that played out in 2020, let this 2020 be like a stop point, like a dam where everything now becomes poured into, and then a new you emerges so that you can thrive beyond that trauma. The essence of this story is, let this time be like a new beginning for you. Let a new flower sprout from within your own life so that you can bloom, so that you can flourish, so that you can thrive beyond trauma. And it looks like I'm speaking some esoteric stuff right there, so let me keep quiet. So, Tolushe, thank you very much for this session. We are about a few minutes away from hitting the 1 hour time limit that we set for this session. At this point, if anybody has any questions, maybe regarding Thrive Beyond Trauma, to register, you can check the link in the description. The link for those who are joining within the next couple of days, you get it for a very, very minimal price. For those who will join at a later time, the price will be reviewed upwards. So you might need to quickly check dialsamuel.com/thrive right now. It takes you straight to the page where you can make payments. And if you want to transfer to a bank account, please let any of us know, whether you speak to Tulushe or you speak to myself, or if you want to, you can decide to actually send me an email and I'll furnish you with the payment details if you want to do a transfer. Otherwise, the link is sufficient enough to handle whatever it is you want to do. At this point, I'm going to say thank you to everyone who has joined us. If you have questions, please ask. And I don't know, maybe you should ask questions right now. If you have questions, please ask as well.
No questions. I think you have said it all. Right now, the ball is in your court. Right now, the decision is yours to actually take that step and break free from that thing, that experience, that scenario that has held you bound for years. Leave your past behind and embrace your future is what I'm going to tell you. Thank you.
Oh, amazing. Thank you very, very much, everyone. And with that, we'll come to the end of this session. The goal is not to drag your time. The goal is not to drag ourselves either. The goal is to be short, sharp, and straight to the point and offer you your next step. So your next step is for you to join Thrive Beyond Trauma. And I hope to see you. I personally hope I will see you in Thrive Beyond Trauma. So with that, I don't know why my this just keeps reading here. All right. I think with that, see you everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. And any last words from Tolushe?
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Make that decision today to set yourself free. I'll see you inside.
Amazing.